Thank you, Madam Chairman. As a proud British citizen, I am ashamed of our government and the way it is treating both its citizens and democracy. Boris Johnson has misled the entire country, including our Queen. He is not to be trusted by anyone in this Parliament or in the Commission. The EU has shown great patience already, for which I am grateful. And now British politics is being recast. Boris Johnson has lost his majority in Parliament. The European election results and every opinion poll show a majority for Remain. Once Britain has an extension, a cross-party majority in the House of Commons will eject Johnson from office. We would ask you for as long an extension as possible so that a new government will be able to hold a new referendum and the UK will find a solution. And if Boris Johnson and the Brexit Party are so confident the British people have not changed their minds, why are they opposing such a confirmatory vote? The British people do not deserve to be punished for the duplicity of their current Prime Minister, and I ask you to give us as much time as possible so that we can fix this mess. Thank you.
Madam, you have provoked a blue card from one of our colleagues. Actually, we've got two blue cards. So the first on my list, if you will accept the questions. Lesley Phillips. Sorry, is that the colleague? Yes, you have the floor.
I just want to ask my colleague from the United Kingdom, talking about how she thinks that our Prime Minister can't be trusted. Her party stood on a manifesto in 2017 of respecting the referendum result. Without any recourse to the general public, they have changed that to revoking Article 50 and stopping Brexit. Hypocrisy.
I think it's a statement, but perhaps there is a question there somewhere. Thank you.
Thank you. In response to that, I would like to say that there is no clarity, and never was, about what type of leave was on the referendum. When we have a clarity about that, whichever type of leave is to be put to a second referendum, the people should have a choice. And in response to the revoke thing, that would be after a general election and therefore after a clear vote to remain.
And there is a second question from Ms. Fox, Claire Fox. Do you accept? Excuse me, I'm not asking you if you accept. I'm asking the lady who would answer the question. So now that the lady will accept, you do have the floor for 30 seconds. And as you know, I'm very strict on 30 seconds. Thank you.
If you are so confident in your politics, why don't you let us have a general election? Why do you, the Libdems, refuse and vote against ordinary voters in the country going to the polls? You've said you won't let them do it until you've taken something off the table that you decided on their behalf, anti-democratically. You are neither liberal nor democratic, and you say you're ashamed of the Parliament. I'm ashamed that you're a British MEP.
And that's
my final
not a question, but it's a
It was a question.
Actually,
is she ashamed?
Well, I'll allow you answer that, because I dare say you'll have a good answer.
I'm very ashamed of some of the things that have been put out recently by Leave.eu. On the point of our Parliament, I think our Parliament is well overdue for a general election, but to remove the UK from to crash out during the course of that election, when there seems to be a majority in the UK for Remain, would be an appalling travesty of democracy. So we must secure the extension before we have the election, and then bring it on, and we will win far more MPs, and always have done, than the Brexit Party.
Monsieur Barnier, will you please explain to this chamber, and indeed the citizens of Europe, why you refuse to adopt the recommendations of your own expert, Lars Carlson, in his report, Smart Borders 2, his excellent 48-page report produced in November 17, confirming that using existing technologies, existing best practices around the world, that actually you could have a friction-free border in Ireland. Why, sir, do you continue to reject that recommendation? May I put it to you? The reason is that you want to handcuff the European Union to regulatory alignment and to the customs union, because you don't want us to succeed as a high-growth, low-tax, smartly regulated country off Europe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam President. On the 31st of October, the United Kingdom is scheduled to leave the European Union. We must leave as one nation. This means that Northern Ireland will leave the single market and the customs union with the rest of the United Kingdom. Prime Minister Johnston's blueprint means that the consent of the elected representatives of Northern Ireland is rightly required to opt into some of the rules, which would make trading with our neighbours in the Republic of Ireland easier for businesses and farmers. A sensible, pragmatic way forward, honouring the UK's referendum result. This has been met with complete negativity by EU leaders. It appears that no proposal, other than tying Northern Ireland to the EU single market and customs union, is acceptable to this House, the Irish Prime Minister, or even the German Chancellor. So let's be clear again. Northern Ireland is an integral part of the United Kingdom through the consent of the people of Northern Ireland. We will not be torn out of its internal market and customs union, and we are not the EU's bargaining chip in this negotiation.
It is the right of its people to make their own decisions. I am really astonished by the fact that within this room and without you are trying to change the result of a referendum. The same thing happened in my country, in Greece. When we carried out a referendum, and according to that we said that we did not want to stay in the EU anymore and we did not want the memorandum. However, you overrode us and led us to destruction. And then we have the declarations of Mario Draghi, of Christine Lagarde, of Paul Thompson, and they admit to their mistakes. Who is going to pay for those mistakes? Because they've been paid by thousands of families in my countries. There are people going hungry, there are people that have killed themselves, and all you are doing is going on about theories. Let the British people take their own decisions and not go through what we went through.
Thank you, Madam President. Dear colleague, of course I agree that member states need to decide their own fate, but how about the citizens? Do they have rights? And according to the latest British polls, regarding what the citizens think, and they believe that they were misled. They were told that nothing will happen after Brexit, that they will have the same rights with no obligations. Do you know the results of the latest polls in the UK?
Sir, you have 30 seconds.
I think that the people in Britain have not changed their minds, but I cannot understand when a referendum is valid for you and when it isn't. I mean, this thing took place a couple of years ago. Why hasn't it been realized yet? Are we going to wait until you pressure them enough to change their minds? The referendum took place, they made a decision, and according to democratic logic, it should be accepted.
I'm somewhat disappointed about what was said concerning the telephone call between Ms. Merkel and Mr. Johnson. I did hear Ms. Merkel said that there would be no problem if they were to leave, but for the UK, according to the Chancellor, there are different rules that should apply. The UK, she says, can leave if Northern Ireland is left for eternity in the customs union. So basically, Merkel would like to divide the United Kingdom. So you wouldn't have a united kingdom, you'd have a disunited kingdom. I find that approach absolutely incredible. From Miss Merkel, who grew up in a in a country that was divided, I would say in good British English, how dare you? We know that no deal is possible if you're going to undermine the independence of the UK. Now, maybe you should look at the border between Norway and Sweden. That's perfectly possible in negotiations, or if you were to extend the Article 50, maybe we could draw solace on that. Let us be honest finally and accept that the EU institutions should do everything to they're actually doing everything to stop the UK making an orderly exit. And we're actually also pointing the finger at the UK and blaming them. Of course, the UK, if it is to kowtow to the EU's demands, there won't be an orderly exit. And in political terms, once they do leave, I think it will be a liberation for them.
Thank you, President. I'm an Irish citizen. I don't want to see a hard border. I want to see the Good Friday Agreement respected. But every time I listen to Monsieur Verhofstadt, I see the arrogance of the EU institutions displayed in a manner in which I find incredibly unhelpful. But in any case, the European Council meeting is going to be discussing the strategic agenda for the next 5 years, and I have to hand it to you for the no-holds-barred approach taken to the section promoting Europe's interests and values in the world, because our government, where neutrality is incredibly important to our citizens, like to say that this is kind of about peace and apple pie, that we join up to PESCO and it doesn't really mean anything. But actually your strategic agenda is very clear about the imperial direction in which the EU is going, talking about defending the interests of the EU, the need to be more assertive, to exercise our influence, be more assertive, work with NATO, enhance our defence investment capability. Is it any wonder that the arms industry say they're our partners, not our vendors? This is an absolute disgrace. If we want to deal with the problems of the world, stop interfering and helping cause them.